Karen's scream could have woken a corpse, but all it did was make my dog howl louder than her. The woman had chained my garage door shut with a padlock the size of a dinner plate. Her red SUV smugly parked inside like she owned my life. This wasn't just a neighborly spat over a hedge or a loud party. No, Karen had escalated our war to a level that demanded a response so unhinged, so gloriously vengeful, it would be whispered about at every HOA meeting for decades. It started 6 months ago when Karen, the self-appointed queen of Oak Ridge Lane, decided my wildflower garden was an eyesore. Never mind that my late wife, Ellie, had planted those flowers. Daisies, sunflowers, and papisto remind us of the summers we'd never get back. Karen didn't care. She filed complaints with the city, called code enforcement, and even started a petition to beautify my yard. I ignored her at first, thinking she'd tire out. Big mistake. Karen was a bulldog with a keyboard, and her emails to the neighborhood listserv painted me as some kind of feral recluse. By month 3, she'd won. The city fined me $500 and ordered the flowers ripped out. I complied, but every shovel of dirt felt like burying Ellie all over again. Then came the garage, my workshop, my sanctuary, where I rebuilt vintage motorcycles to keep my hands busy and my grief quiet. Karen claimed my late-night wrenching was disturbing the peace. She got the HOA to ban commercial activity in residential garages, knowing full well I wasn't selling anything, just fixing bikes for friends. When I kept at it, she went nuclear. One morning, I woke to find my garage padlocked, her SUV parked inside, and a note taped to the door, "Until you respect the rules, your garage is mine." Karen, she'd bribed the HOA president, a spineless accountant named Greg, to look the other way. My tools, my bikes, my last tether to sanity hostages in my own home. I stood there, fists clenched, staring at that lock. Rage burned hotter than grief ever had. Karen thought she'd broken me. She didn't know I'd spent years in the Army Corps of Engineers, rigging solutions out of chaos. If she wanted war, I'd give her one she'd never forget. The plan took shape over a week, fueled by black coffee and spite. I called in a favor from Tommy, a buddy who ran a construction crew with access to a heavy-duty crane. He didn't ask questions when I told him I needed to relocate my garage. Next, I scouted the logistics. My lot backed onto a vacant field, perfect for staging. I spent nights sketching blueprints, calculating weights, and bribing a city inspector to ignore a few permits. The final touch? A GoPro to record every glorious second. The morning of the operation, I woke at dawn, heart pounding like a jackhammer. Karen was at her yoga class, her SUV still squatting in my garage. Tommy's crew rolled in, quiet as ghosts, and set up the crane behind my house. Neighbors peeked through blinds, sensing something wild was brewing. By 8 a.m., we'd slung steel cables under the garage's foundation, the crane's hook gleaming like justice itself. I gave the signal, and the beast roared to life, lifting the entire structure, concrete slab, wooden walls, and Karen's care off the ground. It swayed, creaking, a ship torn from its anchor. My garage, airlifted, was a sight to behold, a 20-ton middle finger to Karen's tyranny. We sent it to 100 yards into the field, gentle as a feather. The SUV was untouched. Trapped inside like a trophy it wasn't. I spray-painted Karen on the garage door in neon orange. A final flourish. Then I waited. Karen's scream hit at 10:47 a.m. She tore down the street, hair wild, phone already filming for her public shaming. "You lunatic," she shrieked, spotting the garage in the distance. "You've ruined my car." My heart. I leaned against my porch railing, sipping coffee, and said, "You locked my garage, Karen. I just moved it." Her face went from red to purple, a choking volcano. Neighbors gathered, some cheering, others gasping, all filming. Karen dialed 911, screaming about theft, vandalism, and emotional terrorism. I'd already tipped off Officer Martinez, who arrived, saw the chaos, and shrugged. "Civil matter," he said, barely hiding a grin. Karen's car wasn't stolen, it was just relocated. Legally. For a fleeting moment, I felt like a god. My garage was free. Karen was humiliated. And the neighborhood knew I wasn't the villain she'd painted. Tommy's GoPro footage hit X that night. racking up 100,000 views by morning. Karen gets own trended locally. I cracked another beer, thinking I'd won. But Karen wasn't done. She didn't slink away or apologize. No, she doubled down. By Wednesday, she'd hired a lawyer, a shark named Denise, who specialized in property disputes. They filed an injunction, claiming I'd willfully destroyed her car by endangering it in an unauthorized demolition. Never mind that her SUV was just inaccessible. Denise spun a tale of a grieving widow Karen's husband had left her, not died terrorized by a deranged veteran. The local news picked it up, and suddenly, I was the monster again. The ex-posts shifted half. The comments called me a hero, half a psycho. My fines tanked. Worse, Karen's lawyer got a court order to seize my garage. Thursday morning, a tow truck rolled in, escorted by sheriff's deputies. They didn't just take the garage, they demolished it, claiming it was a hazard. My tools, my bikes. Ellie's car I'd been restoring smashed to scrap. Karen stood across the street, smirking, filming. I didn't move. I couldn't. Grief and rage had me hollow. I stood in the wreckage of my garage, the splinters of my life scattered like ash. Karen's victory lap didn't last. She underestimated the neighborhood's fury. The same people she'd rallied against me turned, sick of her HOA tyranny. By Friday, whispers of rebellion spread on the listserv. A plan formed, not mine this time, but collective. Neighbor Skite, Mrs. Patel, gruff old Carl, even Greg the spineless HOA president met in my backyard. They'd seen the GoPro footage, knew the truth. Karen's reign was crumbling. Saturday dawn, we struck. Carl, a retired welder, cracked the padlock on Karen's SUV. Still trapped in the field-bound garage, Mrs. Patel, a tech whiz, hacked the HOA's email, exposing Karen's bribes to Greg. By noon, a crowd gathered, towing the SUV to Karen's driveway, spray-painted with justice in my neon orange. Karen ran out, shrieking, but the neighbors drowned her out, chanting, "No more Karen." Some anybody snitches lished her tires, not my style, but I didn't cry over it. Officer Martinez showed up, shrugged again. Civil matter. The court date loomed, but Denise's case collapsed when Greg flipped, confessing Karen's schemes. The judge dismissed her claims, fining her for frivolous litigation. My garage was gone, but the city waived my fines, citing extenuating circumstances. Karen's ex-account went silent. Her victim posts backfired. She put her house up for sale by month's end, tail between her legs. Neighbors threw a block party the day her moving truck left. I didn't join. He was rebuilding, not celebrating. The field where my garage sat became my new project. I planted wildflowers, daisies, sunflowers, poppies, Ellie's favorites. Each seed was defiance, each bloom a promise. The neighborhood helped, donating tools, time, even a new bike frame. Karen's war had cost me everything, but it gave me something back, a community I'd forgotten I had. Yet, as I knelt in the dirt, I felt the sting. Revenge hadn't healed me. Ellie was still gone, and no crane, no crowd, could lift that weight. The flowers bloomed by spring, a riot of color against the gray of loss. I'd won, but at what cost? Karen's defeat was sweet, yet my hands shook when I touched Ellie's old gardening gloves, found in the rubble. Victory didn't fill the hollow, it just made it quieter. Tell me your story of standing up to a bully. How far would you go for justice?